That was one of the main slogans of the Super Bowl when Bad Bunny gave this great performance in Spanish. And the whole point was love can bring us together. And that's why I think it's more important for people to be nice, to be friendly, to be kind, rather than being intelligent. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another British English conversation with me and my mum. And today our focus is on comparatives. So comparing words and using it in conversation. So don't worry, we're not going to be teaching any grammar. We're just going to be speaking, and speaking. So to get started speaking, Mum, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. Yes, absolutely fine. Just had a little bit of a chest infection, but nothing to worry about. So
Okay.
onwards and upwards. Here we go.
Onwards and upwards. Yeah, I'm all right. Busy as usual. I've got a lot on my plate all of the time. I've just finished lots of classes back to back. And then I managed to have a quick lunch. I grabbed a quick bite to eat. And here we are, ready to record another English conversation. So, Mum, you ready to get started?
I am indeed.
Okay, so let's begin with the first question, and I'll keep sharing my screen very quickly just to show you which questions we are discussing. The first one is using the adjective relaxing and the comparative more relaxing. So, Mum, what do you think is more relaxing, the beach or the mountains?
Well, definitely the beach. There's no exertion. If you want to go to a beach, you just go, you can lie there, you can sunbathe, hopefully. Perhaps not in this country. I mean, if we were to walk on Filey Beach now, which is in the north of England, that would probably be a little bit wet, a little bit breezy. So maybe not relaxing. It would be what we call bracing, or, it just sort of nice and refreshing. I'd always wanted to go on a beach holiday, somewhere like the Maldives, and just sit there and just, cocktail in hand and things like that. But I don't think Dad would want to go with me because he needs to be climbing mountains. He wants to just get up there and get on. Or if when we used to go on our family holidays to Mallorca, the deal became that he took his bike, he went cycling in the mountains, and then he would join us on the beach because he would have been bored if it was just there. So it wouldn't have been relaxing for anyone because I would have known he was bored. He would be fidgeting. He would be like, what we're going to do. So I would say it's more relaxing for me to just sit on a beach. But even I want to look around the shops. I want to, the little bars at the beach side. I need more than just the sand, the beach. What about you?
I
Are you
mean,
particularly?
I'm kind of in the middle. I'm in between two minds, and I think you need the best of both worlds, a little bit of beach and a little bit of mountains. I think the mountains are usually more relaxing, actually, because they're not quite as busy, as packed, as crowded as many beaches are. If I think about beaches in Spain, for example, in summer, the vast majority are really, really busy, where you've got people very close to you, so you don't have that much personal space. So that's one little downside. And of course, fewer people enjoy going to the mountains in general. So there are fewer people there, which means it's more relaxing. But that being said, if you give me the option, I would probably choose to go to the beach 9 times out of 10 rather than going to the mountain. So I'm kind of on the fence a little bit. I'm in between two minds. And that's me using some expressions. But another nice verb that you used was to fidget. So you said that dad would be fidgeting, like feeling a bit restless and like moving around, like he's got ants in his pants because he wouldn't be able to just lie down and sunbathe on the beach. He'd get restless and he'd start, fidgeting.
Oh, oh.
Okay, now let's continue with the next question. We're going to try get through as many as possible in this conversation. And to be honest, we're going to group together the next three questions because they're all related to food. We have question number three: is homemade food better than restaurant food? Number four: what's worse, very spicy food or very bland food? And which is healthier, eating at home or eating out? So let's begin with homemade versus restaurant food. Mum, what are your thoughts on this matter?
Well, to be honest, I love to go out to a restaurant. If it's a good restaurant, that to me is way better than the homemade food because it's different, it's a bit fancier. They have the skills that I don't. So, for example, you can go and you can have, the fish and they'll crisp the skin and it's lovely. And I'll try that at home and it's sort of soggy or slimy. And it's just nice as well because you don't have the prep, you don't have the washing up. So I would say it's much nicer to go to a restaurant. I'm not a fast food person. It needs to be sort of a restaurant. It could just be a pub, but I just don't particularly like burgers or a lot of fried food. But that is just me. That's just my personal preference. So yeah, we did go somewhere and it was a lovely tasting menu, and it just means that you try something that you wouldn't try at home. So yeah, absolutely.
Nah, I think, like, of course, you have chefs and they get paid for a reason and they train for a reason because they know all of the skills. They can master different cooking techniques. So the norm is that they will cook a lot better dishes than you at home. But at the same time, there are many amateur cooks who are fantastic. If I think about Spanish grandmas. I think about my fiance's grandmas, and both of them are the best cooks ever. What they cook is just so tasty, it's so delicious. And you could maybe make some kind of like competition between professional chefs versus Spanish grandmas or Italian grandmas or grandmas in general. They're able to make very tasty comfort food that you want to eat and it reminds you of home. So if you're living abroad and you taste these traditional dishes that are cooked to perfection, it really hits the spot. And it's like, oh, that is perfect. And maybe it's not technically as good as restaurant quality, Michelin star quality dishes, but it can equally have the same place in your heart, I think.
And handed down through the generations probably as well.
Exactly. And at the same time, if I think about having a roast dinner or something like that, then it will make me think about being at home, make me think about Christmas. It'll make me think about having roast dinners growing up. So you have that nostalgic factor as well that maybe can't compete in the same way with restaurant food. And how about the healthiness? Mum, do you think that restaurant food is usually healthier than homemade food or not?
I probably, when I go out for restaurant food, I'll probably have something with sauces. So it probably will involve a lot of cream or like the desserts probably have a lot of sugar in. But I don't do it all the time, so it might not be healthier. But then again, it's usually fresh ingredients, so I would say it's healthy to eat out. Yes, yes. But at home, you could just rustle up, a salad and you'd know what you're putting in it. If you had, I don't know, some health issues, you'll be able to cater for yourself. So, but yes, I think there's a lot now that do gluten free. There's a lot of cafes that, are embracing the sort of the natural foods. So I think eating out can be pretty healthy.
No, absolutely. It depends where you choose and if you're able to avoid fast food chains and that kind of stuff, then of course you can always find healthy options at different restaurants. But, when I eat out, usually I'm not thinking about whether something is healthy or not. It's the least of my concerns. And speaking about food and cooking, you used a really nice phrasal verb, which meant to cook something or prepare something very quickly, which was rustle up. So if you're at home, you haven't got a lot of time between meetings, you can quickly rustle up a salad. You can rustle up some pasta. which means to prepare it very, very quickly. You can rustle it up. And the other question related to food was about spicy food versus bland food. Mum, are you able to handle your spice?
I definitely am. Yes, I love curry. I actually did have a curry last night. We
Oh,
went for it, and it was lovely. It's one of our favourite Indian restaurants. It is quite spicy. I mean, you can ask them to do it toned down a little bit. I think I had one time, and honestly, I feel my taste buds stopped working. It was so hot. It was unbelievably hot. I think there was a whole chili which must have split, and so the seeds had just infused too much heat. But I like spice. I like something that just for the senses. But speaking of that, we did actually have an elderly aunt who was lovely, and she would such a kind lady, and she would say, "Come over for lunch," and you knew immediately that the vegetables they would be quite bland. They would be boiled potatoes with peas and boiled carrots, but it was the thought behind it. It was lovely. Wasn't my favourite food, but it was cooked with love. And what the best thing is, she lived into her late 90s, so she obviously was doing something right. So maybe, the fact that she didn't use a lot of fancy ingredients, it was just plain, wholesome, simple food. Just, it worked for her.
I
So,
mean, if she lived until she was in her late 90s, then maybe that's the way forward. Maybe we should eat as many bland vegetables as possible. Not for me, not my cup of tea. I'm much more into spicy stuff and things that have got a kick. I like to eat things that have got a kick, a little bit of spice, a little bit of punch.
Mhm.
Okay, let's move on to the next topic and next questions then. And I believe it's related to books and films or series. So, are books more interesting than films? Are books more captivating than films? More entertaining than films? I think everybody who's watching this or listening to this will have heard me previously state that I'm not that much of a bookworm. In other words, I don't read a lot, which is a shame. Like, I wish that weren't the case, but books never really grabbed my attention, and I could never really sit down and read a book over a long period of time. So for me, it's a no brainer. I don't even need to use my brain to think about this answer because films, series, documentaries are hands down more interesting than books, in my opinion. Mum, do you agree?
I actually do like a book, and I did try to encourage you to read. I think I tried to do the Harry Potter thing when it was popular, but you weren't that bothered. I think the thing you read most was the Leeds United annual, which used to come out with all the footballers in. But hey, it was reading. Now, I love a book, and you can kind of use your own imagination then for the characters. And sometimes it may be that you read a book and then it's adapted to a film, and it's not quite it doesn't live up to expectations. Your character in your mind was this, and then they'll somehow transfer it. There is a new one coming out, which I would love to watch soon, The Wuthering Heights, which is not, it's based not far from here in Haworth. So I would like to see that and sort of see. I mean, it also depends on the leading man, I mean, but hey, and also with books, you need time because to me, you can't just read 2 chapters. You've got to read half the book. Do you know what I mean? And then have a little break. You can't just dip into it. Whereas with a series or even a film, you can just watch it and you can just sit back and relax. There's not really any effort involved. So I would say I prefer a book, but sometimes it's just easier to just we'll be sitting on the settee at night and we'll just like, oh, let's just put a film on. Let's just chill, sit back, watch a film. So yeah.
Exactly. No, it's definitely the easy option and the lazy option. And in my view, the more entertaining option of watching a film or a series. And you mentioned this new adaptation of the famous book, Wuthering Heights,
Mhm.
and it's with Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi, two Australian actors. And people say it's really good. I don't know if it's my cup of tea, to be honest. So I'm not going to be going to the cinema to watch it. But when it comes available on Netflix or similar, maybe I'll watch it just because of the fact that it is set and filmed just around the corner from where we're from. You mentioned the town is called Haworth, and we're from Bingley. So between Haworth and Bingley, it's like 20 minutes drive. That's it. So it's just around the corner.
Mm. We
Now,
also
go
the
on.
Bro- we went to the Bronte Parsonage Museum, so that's where the Brontes grew up as well. So yeah, I think it'll just be interesting to go see it. But and I think the lead man is quite easy on the eye.
Perfect.
Yeah, so far.
Moving on, moving on. You can see I'm going red. But yeah, the leading actor, the lead man, is easy on the eyes, which is a way of saying he's good looking, essentially. And you said that used a phrase which was to live up to expectations. So sometimes the film adaptation doesn't live up to expectations, and live up to could be replaced by meet as well. It doesn't meet expectations. Awesome. Next question, then. Let's keep going. Let's keep rolling. And this next question is quite an important one. And it is, what's more important, intelligence or kindness? So being intelligent or being kind? Mum, I think I know what you're going to say, but go ahead. Tell us.
Well, obviously, when you have your children, you want them to be intelligent. You don't want life to be a struggle. You want them to be able to do well at school. But really, to me, the center of a person is kindness. Because if you have a child who isn't kind, then what's the world going to be like? I mean, that sounds too idealistic, but yes, intelligence is great, and you want somebody to go on, maybe go to university, and I don't know, to get everything that they want in life. But that's not real either. It's just I don't know. I'm not explaining this very well, but to me, there's a program called The Apprentice. I think
Okay.
it's Lord Sugar. It's the English version, obviously not the American one. Um, and there are a lot of people on there that may be so intelligent. They may not always have common sense, which again, common sense is where you sort of know what to do, what's right, or it's just I find some of them they will maybe sort of do a bit of backstabbing, which is where they will sort of throw somebody under a bus. It'll be like obviously it's a competition; they want to win, but to me, to win something at the expense of not being kind is a failure because it's more about how you treat people in life. So I'm definitely all for the kindness.
Uh-huh. I mean, I think it's a much better way of thinking about the world as well. If being kind is rewarded more than being intelligent, I think that could only make the world a better place. And if you
Mm.
think about, you know, referencing other recent things like the Super Bowl, of course, love is more powerful than hate. That was one of the main slogans of the Super Bowl when Bad Bunny gave this great performance in Spanish. And the whole point was love can bring us together. And that's why I think it's more important for people to be nice, to be friendly, to be kind, rather
Mm.
than being intelligent. And I think on the note of being intelligent, like, I think you can be intelligent and you can be smart because people can be book smart and really good at exams, but
Mm.
maybe that doesn't get you where you want to be in life. And other people can be smart, like street smart, but they're not very intelligent. And they might be much more successful in terms of money, work, family, etc. So there are so many different ways of measuring being intelligent. And of course, there are some positive ways of being intelligent, other a little bit more negative. But being kind, it's always a good thing. Like, what could go
Yeah.
wrong? If everybody's kind, thumbs
Oh,
up.
I think you're kind as well. Maybe I brought you up well. I think it's more your personality to be kind. I think the way you are with your fiance, you're lovely. You will open doors for her, and to me, that's kind as well because it makes somebody feel appreciated. So, yeah.
And well, thank you, Mum. Thank you. And just before I forget, you mentioned another two great expressions. One was to backstab, also known as stabbing someone in the back, which is kind of like to ruin somebody else's chances of achieving something for your own personal gain, or like to betray someone, essentially. And then you also said you can throw someone under the bus, which is to make them take the fall for your own mistake. Basically, to kind of punish them and throw them literally in front of a bus, and you stay on the pavement just walking normally, which of course, nobody should be doing this.
No. And they don't literally throw them under the bus, but it's kind of like they're just like, oh, they're expendable. We'll ruin their chances and keep our chances. But yeah, it is. It's a good expression. I've heard it quite a lot.
And they essentially take the blame, and you get away with doing something wrong while they are taking the blame. Awesome. Let's move on from this little bit of philosophy about what is good and evil. And maybe we can skip the next. Well, how about, yeah, why not? Let's do number 9. To be busier or not. So, are you busier than you were last year? Personally, I think that I've been very busy since I decided to become my own boss. But the weird thing is, I don't mind being busy as much as I used to, because of course I'm more motivated about achieving my goals, getting more students, launching my app, staying consistent on social media. So I think overall, I'm busier now than I was last year and definitely than 2 years ago. But I don't mind being busier because my job is practically my hobby. So in my case, yes, I am probably busier now than I was a year or 2 years ago. But Mom, how about you? Are you busier than you were last year or 2 years ago?
I'm busier in a different way. 2 years ago, I was still working full time. I was helping look after grandma, and your sister had had a baby, and I was doing lots of things. And it was just too much. And obviously, I made the decision to retire early, to look after grandma more, and then obviously to spend time with the baby who's now 2 and an absolute joy and a bundle of fun. So I can have 2 days with him, which is lovely. It's tiring. So I will say, yes, I'm busy. But I'm like my own boss now, in so much as if I want to do something, then I can think, well, yes, I'm not free those days, but I've got these other days which I can fill. I mean, sadly, we lost grandma. So I have been busy in a different way. We had to clear the house is up for sale. It's quite sad, but it was just natural because your parents, she was nearly 90 as well as mum. So I'm just busy in a different way. But it's lovely to have different things to do. I've started an evening class to just polish my Spanish up a little bit better. And I'm really out of my comfort zone because it's with people speaking, but that's better because when I was trying to do it online, it wasn't working. I needed to interact with somebody. So obviously I do that. I would actually like, when we talked about the spicy food, the restaurant in question offers, it offers classes on how to cook a really good curry. So that is on my to-do list. That is on my bucket list. But I will be ticking something off like do a course on how to cook the perfect curry. It will probably involve prawns because that is the family joke that I love prawns and prawn biryani, but I could do it well. So yeah, I'm still busy. Yes.
Well, I look forward to trying this perfect curry. Of course, I imagine it will be the usual prawn biryani. And it's funny because, as Mum mentioned, it is a bit of a family joke that she is the easiest person to predict in the world when it comes to what she's going to order in a restaurant. You know, just quickly scanning the menus, like, okay, Mum, you're getting this, right? And 9 times out of 10,
Mhm.
we guess correctly because I get it. If you find something that you like, why not keep having it? It's not like you're eating out every single day, so you're not going to get bored of it. If you're eating out once every fortnight or once every couple of months, then why not treat yourself and get what you really enjoy?
Yes, I do have my favourites. I do try to push myself as well and think, I'll maybe try this, but then sometimes I think, oh, sometimes it's nice. That's why I like the tapas, the Spanish tapas, because you can try a little bit of everything. But yes, I'm not saying I'll be doing the cookery course anytime soon, but hopefully in the next couple of years, I'm going to go for it. And Betty's Tea Rooms, apparently they do something on baking as well, and I love baking, so yeah.
I look forward to it, as I said. Now, let's move on, and we're going to skip the next two questions, which are related to working at home and in an office, because, I mean, I love working at home, but mum doesn't have that much experience working from home. So we'll skip that. And number 11 is what's the difference? What's harder? Sorry, what's more difficult between starting a new habit or breaking a bad habit? And we kind of already touched on this a month or 2 months ago when we were discussing New Year's resolutions. So, again, we'll skip that for now. And let's focus on the last couple of questions, which I think are maybe a little bit more fun. So, number 12, the penultimate one, is which animal is cuter? Cats or dogs? Kittens or puppies? And, I think it's tricky. I think it's difficult. But I mean, people will have seen that last week or the week before, I was dog sitting and looking after my friend's dog again. And she was a little bit of a pain sometimes, barking in the middle of my classes. But she's so adorable. She's so cute. And I just imagine what she would have been like as a puppy. And of course, kittens, cats, they're also so cute. But I think the major difference is that dogs kind of require your attention. They're very affectionate, very loving. They're always there, kind of, wanting to spend time with you. While for cats, that can be the case. But often it's not like that because they're so much more independent and they like their own space a lot more. So they can be cute, but you don't maybe have as many cute moments with them because they do like to be, on a little corner or on top of the TV. Like we used to have our cat who would sit on top of the TV because it was a big TV where she could kind of dangle her tail and that would be covering parts of the screen. So she was cute, but usually not in a very affectionate way. So I'd go for dogs as being cuter than cats. Mum, what do you reckon?
I don't want to offend any cat love. We've had cats over the years. They've been great. They've been lovely, and they've been affectionate to a point. But then, I can remember we had a ginger cat at one point. We called him Marmalade, like the orange sort of jam, the marmalade you put on toast. It was your sister that came up with the name, and he was lovely. But when we used to feed him, I remember my grandma saying, "Oh, it's all cupboard love with him." In other words, he only really wanted to be friendly when he knew you were going to the cupboard where we kept his treats.
Uh-huh.
Uh, it was very food oriented. So he was lovely. And it is quite relaxing if a cat comes and sits on your knee and you can stroke them. But I know when you were talking about Misty, the one that used to sit on the big TV before we went with the flat screen, and she she actually was quite vicious. Do you remember she had like a little rattan, a little sort of igloo that she used to go in. And I remember we would warn your friends not to try and stroke her when she was in the igloo. She was very territorial. If you put your hand in to stroke her, the paw would just go, claws out, carnage. So we also had a golden retriever. Now, she was adorable. She was stubborn. She didn't always like to go for a walk. I can remember if she'd had enough, she would just sit down. And of course, being a golden retriever, she was heavy. You couldn't just pick her up. But when I used to work in the office at school and I'd come home at lunchtime for a quick walk, and you would think I hadn't seen her, I hadn't been home for days. I would get such a welcome because it was like, oh, you're back. And it had been 3 hours. But, it was just so nice. And also, you can take dogs with you if you want to going back to the mountains. If you want to go for a walk, they're the best company. It's you can just maybe engage more with a dog because you can take them somewhere, whereas you're not really going to take a cat on a long walk. Realistically, they'd just be like, "What? I can be in front of the fire. I could be eating tuna." Whereas a dog, it's just like, "Yay, walkies." So I'm a dog person.
No, I agree 100%. But it is funny that after dog sitting, I was telling myself, like, maybe before I make the decision to get a dog, perhaps a cat first, just because they don't take up anywhere near as much time. Like taking them out for a walk, you don't need to do it. And because they're independent, maybe it's easier to get started with a cat. And then you kind of graduate to getting a dog, where it is kind of like a job taking care of a dog. And there is this famous phrase, which is that a dog isn't for Christmas, it's for life, because people used to get dogs as presents. And then maybe they wouldn't properly take care of the dog because they'd see it as more of a present than a living being. So that is something to be aware of. And I think I would only get a dog when I have, I don't know, a very flexible schedule, which I do, to be fair, but also maybe a garden or living next to woods. Then you can give the dog the quality life that it actually deserves.
We are lucky because we do live literally next to some woods, so that was always an easy option for the walks. But I feel now that your dad and we like to be spontaneous as well. So we can just go off for the day. We can stay over somewhere. So a dog won't really fit into our lifestyle now. So I do like the sponsor thing, whereas for Dogs Trust, where you just pay some money and it just basically looks after. Some dogs are too nervous to be rehomed, or they might have some sort of issue. But
Mhm.
obviously they deserve to have a nice life. So we just do like the Dogs Trust thing. And yeah, that works because you can even, you get what they call pup dates, like update, and you get pictures. And I had a Valentine's card from my sponsored dog.
Oh,
I-
very cute, very cute. I mean, speaking about that, you do see sometimes, we mentioned it maybe last time or the time before, of what cheers us up when we're a little bit down, and it is seeing puppies and kittens. And there's a new trend, which is, I think, like puppy yoga. And I'm not into yoga, but I see people doing yoga on their yoga mats with just lots of cute puppies wandering around, like jumping on top of them. And I'm like, okay, that would get me into yoga. Okay, let's finish off now with the final question. And it is about addictions. So, what's more addictive, social media or chocolate? And just a little note here that in American English, you may have heard people saying addicting rather than addictive. And in British English, we always say addictive, it's the original, the correct one. But don't be a little bit freaked out if you hear someone say it's addicting, because this is what a lot of Americans will say instead of addictive. So that's just a little note. But yeah, what's more addictive? Social media or chocolate? Mum, I'll let you start with this.
I saw your eyebrow go up then because you know, yes, yes, you know that I love chocolate. I'm a chocoholic. So yeah, I do. I like to go on social media. I just scroll. I mean, this bit of social media, I am so out of my comfort zone. But hey, if we can have a chat, it's nice to just have a chat, and if anybody watches it, that's a bonus. But yeah, I am a bit of a chocoholic, so I would say I am quite addicted to chocolate. But it's coming up to Pancake Day, and after that it's Lent. And so then what I do is I actually do give up chocolate for Lent. So from the Wednesday, I will then. So as soon as we've had the pancakes and you use up all the eggs, I don't really do the chocolate spread. I like just proper chocolates. I would melt mine. And we have all that. We use all the rich things, and then I think the idea is that you're cutting something out. It's a bit of a penance, I guess. So a lot of people do say, yes, I'm going to give up chocolate. I mean, I did a few times give up sugar, but that was way, way too much. I think I just need that sugar rush. But so yes, I will have quite a long time without chocolate. So that will be a challenge. But I will still do the social media because sometimes I'm going to bed and Bruce will sort of say, I thought you were going to bed. I'm just like, yes, I'm ready, and I'm just scrolling mindlessly, maybe for some cute puppy videos. Who knows? So yeah, yeah, I would say I could give up social media, and it would be fine. But then I do like some bits are interesting, so I'm a bit of a pick and choose person. But to give up chocolate permanently, that would be really hard. How about you?
Okay. I mean, my argument is imagine you were eating chocolate every time you were scrolling on social media. Like, what would happen to you? You'd put on so much weight. If you were binge eating chocolate nonstop every time you're on social media, your teeth would probably fall out. And you'd definitely get a little bit too fat, or you'd have to be doing exercise nonstop to stay in shape. And I think there are so many replacements for chocolate. If we're speaking about sweets in general or anything sweet, then I think that is really, really tough to give up and completely cut out. But I'm not that much of a sweet tooth anyway. Like, I don't really mind if I don't have something sweet after my savory meal. But with social media, well, one, it's my job. So I need to use it. But two, it's just a great way to relax because it's a great way to kind of like become distracted from work, from troubles, worries, anxiety. Maybe social media in some cases can make you feel more anxious. But for most people, before you go to bed, as you mentioned, you're mindlessly scrolling, you're just doom scrolling, watching random videos, and perhaps in some cases, it's a bit of a waste of time. But I think it's part of our routines now, and it's part of our lifestyle that it's so difficult to imagine a life without social media. And I've had social media for now half of my life, probably a little bit longer, because I think Facebook became a thing when I was like 14, maybe something like that, maybe younger. So for almost now 2/3 of my life, I've had social media. And with chocolate, yes, I love it. It's tasty. But I reckon I could give it up if I really had to.
Mm.
Maybe. I'm not sure. There's only one way to find out.
And social media can be interesting. You can actually, if you go on the right parts, you can learn things. It can be interesting. Yeah, yeah. I
And
still,
of course, this is going to be released the day after Pancake Day and
Mhm.
the first day of Lent, right? So, Mum,
Yes.
you're religious. You know a lot more about these things than I do, but could you just briefly explain what is Lent?
Well, basically, it's the Shrove Tuesday is when, I hope I'm getting this right. Uh, yeah, you sort of you it's a period of penance almost, and then it culminates. It starts. You have the Pancake Tuesday, you use up things, and then you have the sort of the Ash Wednesday, and you go through. I think it's 40 days,
Okay.
and then obviously to your Good Friday, which obviously for Christians is when there was the crucifixion, and then on the Easter Sunday, that's obviously when the Christ sort of rose again. So that's it in a very small nutshell. But yeah, so it's that period of Lent is a period of maybe reflection and maybe you sort of give up something. I mean, obviously it's quite commercialized now, and I have to say I've gone along with some of that too because last year we did like a little Easter egg hunt. I think that was brought in obviously much later, so it's sort of become Easter is a bit like about spring now as well. So then the chocolate kind of came in. I'm not sure who's. I think that was probably some sort of commercial thing. But yeah, we had the Easter bunny hunt last year, and it was really sweet because obviously my grandson, he was about 18 months then, and he had to sort of go and find little things, and you do, sort of leave little chocolate eggs and little surprises, and it's about chicks and things. But yes, I mean the overall thing, obviously, Easter is about Christ and things. So, but yeah, it's also it's just a really nice time because you know that spring's coming as well. It's like a new beginning. So
Perfect. Excellent explanation. And Mum was not expecting that question. It kind of just,
yeah,
came up with it randomly. So
yeah,
a
threw
little
that
round
in.
of applause. Well done, Mum, for
Well,
being able to explain that very quickly.
please accept my apologies. And I mean, obviously, I will be going to church, and I will get, the palm cross, which obviously is for when Jesus was sort of going in, and we put palm leaves and things. So, but it's just it, it's each to their own, but it's really nice, and yeah, you, everybody can celebrate it because I like to sort of learn about other people's religions as well. So, it's just good to have a real balance.
No, absolutely. Fantastic. Well, on that note, we will wrap up and finish off this podcast using comparative structures in conversation. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. If so, please leave a like. If you've got any questions or any topics you'd like us to discuss next time, let us know in the comments. And of course, as always, I'll always leave a link in the video description in case you're interested in trying out my application or my classes. So, thank you everybody for watching or listening. Thank you, Mum, for joining once again. You're the best, and we'll see you next time.
It's nice to chat, and like I said earlier, if somebody watches it, that's great. But I'm chatting with my son too, and we can just talk about different things. But yeah, hopefully, if hope you've enjoyed it. Bye.
Bye bye.